Um, well, welcome, folks, to Summer Chapel. And just being recorded, so I just want to say that I'm T. Michael in this role as the shepherd of the chapel, and kind of caring for the spiritual lives of the community, right? And that chapel is here to kind of honor this spiritual journey and the power of seminary. In the midst of that, oftentimes we see people or experience people up there at this pulpit who give wonderful prophetic powerful words in that space, and we'll sing and pray and that kind of thing, and then sometimes we gather in a circle where we can kind of be in community and hold this space, and so it really depends. You can do all kinds of different things. We can change the space around, but the purpose is generally the same, is to share a little bit and to tend to the spiritual lives of the community. And so I want to give a chance to for folks to introduce themselves, as this is a new chapel experience for the term, and there may be some new people in the circle, right? So, so if we can kind of go around, it'll help know when it's your turn, right? So, so I'm T. Michael in this role as the shepherd of the chapel. So I'll go to my left, Dave.
I'm Dave, student, started just in September, working towards becoming a Unitarian Universalist minister.
Yeah, degree program would be great, thank you.
Great. Gonna need another chair here, yeah. Dr. Pat. My name is Molly, and I beg for money.
I appreciate the honesty. Development directors and all sounds like a much different job, and then you realize that's what it is. My name's Ramona Weller. I use they, them pronouns. I just started seminary on Tuesday morning. I am in the MDiv program, looking in the UCC direction. We'll see how that all pans out through the course.
We want you.
I didn't know the UCC was what it was until all of a sudden I was going into a different denomination and went, wait a minute, and this sounds like a much better fit for me. So,
Great.
Happy to be here.
Great.
Hi, I'm Caden. I don't have any pronouns, so just use my name in place of pronouns. And I'm one of those wonky people getting 2 degrees here.
Nice.
One in interreligious chaplaincy and the other one in ethics and justice. And I've been particularly focused on disability liberation theologies.
Great. Great.
I'm Pat. I teach, as an adjunct, teach writing as spiritual practice. Welcome. I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you.
Andrew Fox, he, him pronouns. I'm on staff. I work also asking people for money. I don't beg, I ask. But and I'm a student in the spiritual direction program. So had a lovely class with T. Michael last term, and I'm starting my next class tonight. So
Cool. Good.
My name is James Timmons, and I'm an interreligious chaplaincy student. I am a first semester, third term person. I just started class on Monday, and I need to learn how to ask for money.
Good talk. Good talk.
Frank, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely, thank you. My name is Frank De La Cruz. This is my second semester, and I'm in the MDiv Interreligious Chaplaincy program. And I'm also one of those wonky people that decided to add on an AMA in religion and theology. So I'm super excited about that. I'm also focused on the UCC ordination track. So starting to get all the pieces in motion there. And I'm just excited to be back in chapel. I love this space. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That will help orient those who view us on Zoom later on the recording about who's here in the space, knowing that everyone's always welcome in the space. And just a little orientation to chapel in general, not just the spiritual lives of the community is important to us to form these good humans in the world. For spiritual leadership, because we think that the world is crying out for spiritual leadership in so many different ways. And so we do weekly chapels during the fall and winter semester terms, but summer we'll do once a month. But there's always opportunities for pop-up chapels. So if you have an idea or there's an event in the world that causes us to need to spend time together as a community to reflect and learn and hold each other in some way, it is always available to kind of come together for that, whether it's an online experience or an in-person experience. So just know that that's an attentiveness of the institution, is to tend to that spiritual life, whether it's in our program calendar or not. Is that fair? Mm-hmm. And so today is one of these place-based, time-based chapel experiences because we are heading into Memorial Day weekend. And being place-based people in a seminary in Minneapolis and St. Paul, the dates of Memorial Day weekend has taken on significant meaning in our lives. Because it was the weekend of the murder of George Floyd 6 years ago. And so the Rise and Remember community at George Floyd Square has a weekend-long series of events planned to remember and to rise again. Just like in some religious calendars, we have these rising experiences, whether they're coming-of-age moments or greeting high holy days or resurrection experiences or confessional in nature. They're rising experiences, all of them. And so to rise and remember is kind of an important thing that we're going to deal with today in this chapel experience. And I'd like to open it up to talk a little bit about what either that event or another event that you're bringing into your spiritual life that causes you to remember and to rise again. The great poet Maya Angelou has this poem that I've read many times in chapel called I Rise. Mm-hmm. And part of that is when we get beaten down, when we feel like there's no hope, I rise. When we lean on others, when we enter into community, when we take on a new challenge or risk like seminary, I rise. And so there's this refrain that goes into that poem all the time. And so thinking about rising and remembering and the role of remembering, and I want to invoke a little bit of our scholar, teacher, professor here at United, Dr. Gary Green, who talks about the multiple intelligences of us, of people, of humans. And I think remembering and imagining are part of these intelligences we don't always pay attention to. And so Dr. Green often kind of leans into some of these memories as we do ancestor work, and I know that he'll be lecturing on that in Black and Womenist Theologies this term. So I just wanted to, as I'm rambling a little bit so you can be thinking about what you are remembering and what you are rising to. Whether it's about racial justice and the advent of George Floyd Square and how we have developed new relationships with each other, or something that is not based in this weekend, right, in this time. Maybe it's something else in the calendar, a birthday, an anniversary, something that evokes the remembering and the rising, and the invitation always, and we do this in seminary worlds, create ritual around the remembering and the rising, which we'll be doing all weekend at George Floyd Square, is creating ritual for that space and for the people who gather there. So, and people come from all over the world to visit the square during this weekend to remember and to rise again. So that's your prompt for the day, and invite you to speak into the circle if you feel so moved about what you're remembering in this moment.
I'll start. May of 2020 was really important in our family in a lot of ways. It started out that my wife and I got married, all on our own with the minimum of witnesses because it was the pandemic times and we couldn't have family. We had 2 of our little children with us. And later in that month, we conceived our last child. And so he came into being in May of 2020. And the George Floyd murder happened in May of 2020. And before June of 2020 happened, our family, which my wife and I are the only white members of our family, all of our children and grandchildren are Black. And our family was one of the families who was targeted with the terroristic and hate letters and threats of violence because we had Black Lives Matter signs, because we had Black children. And what I remember most from that situation is that other people were scared in that time. Other people didn't know whether they should be isolating, staying away, staying back. And we decided for our children that we couldn't stand back. And so instead we became a distribution site for Black Lives Matter signs. We made sure that people could get them at our house. We had at least 100 of them poked into the ground on our corner lot so that everybody could see that we would not be stopped by that threat and that Black Lives mattered so much more. So for our children and our family, yes, we remember and grieve George Floyd, and we remember that that was a time where we showed our community that we weren't going anywhere, and that it was important. And so we met so many neighbors, people who came out, patrolled our house 24 hours a day. We really built community around that might not have existed otherwise. And so for us, tragedy and great celebration are reminders in May for us, especially of that 2020 year.
And the response is rise and remember. So together, rise and remember.
My name is James, and it's great to be with you today. I'm in memoriam for a lot of people. I'm remembering, I'm 59, going to be 60 this year, and I was raised by two sets of people. One was my grandparents and one were my parents, and 3 out of those 4 people are gone now. But the reason why I'm reflecting on what they meant to me is that there was a man by the name of Kurt Nelson who played a pivotal role in helping me get clean and sober. He became my best friend and my own personal guru. And one of the things that I had learned from Kurt was don't listen so much to what other people profess about their God, but concentrate on developing a personal relationship with your understanding of God. And so he would have me do stuff like, every once in a while, a few times a day, just check in with God with prayer. And I developed a habit of what I call walking prayer. He played a really important role in my life. His wife Tisha and I didn't get along for years, but we started to in the last 2 years. And about the time that we were really starting to get to know each other and really appreciate each other, she was diagnosed with cancer. And so I've spent a lot of time in Iowa going back and forth, trying to help Kurt with Tisha. And Tisha passed away on I think it was the 2nd or the 3rd of May. So I went down to Des Moines one more time to be with Kurt to provide some type of solace and support. And I was there, and a week to the day, he passed. They both had the same birthday, and they followed each other just a week apart. And I don't know if you guys believe in soulmates, but I'm beginning to wonder if I don't. anyway, I saw the entire deal. Two of his friends, we just had finished, that day we had finished a steak dinner with each other and a dear friend of ours. And both the friend Neil and I was lying in bed and I heard Neil call out my name. And I woke up and Kurt was on the floor and he had passed and we were there to see it, witness it. I won't go into graphic detail, but it was very profound on what happened. And the EMS arrived and both Neil and me heard them call the time. So I'm coming back from then and I'm realizing, you know, I just lost two of the best friends I've ever had. And then, so I'm really reflective today. Now, Kurt was there initially when he said, James, I think it would be a great idea if you, for reasons of recovery, to get a relationship with a power greater than yourself. And I said, F that. And he was also there when I said, Kurt, I'm going to seminary.
Yeah.
So when we talk about rising again, I think he'd be very proud that I'm here today. And you're gonna have a lot better semester than I did the last one. I think that's something that all three of us would want. So, thank you for listening.
Rise
And remember, and there are tissues behind the two of you if James needs it.
That's all I have now.
Well, last Sunday I was reminded of the Annunciation shooting when one of the coming of age presenters at my church, a young person who I've taught in religious education, talked about having gone to Annunciation before becoming Unitarian Universalist. And I'm thinking about it because that shooting happened between the time that I got my unexpected calling to ministry and the time I started classes here.
Okay.
Though that 2-week window. And I remember going to the vigil that evening, and they handed out candles, and I thought, who has the candles? Who is there ready for this moment?
Yeah.
And why do we need someone ready with candles?
Yeah.
And then realizing I'm going to be the one handing out candles.
Yeah.
I need to be ready. So that's what I'm reflecting on.
Thank you, David.
Rise and remember.
The next 2 Sundays are my favorite liturgical holidays. This coming Sunday is Pentecost.
Yep.
So I'll be flaming in red on Sunday morning. Of course, the birth of the church and the promised accompanying presence, whom James Cone referred to the Holy Spirit as his best friend. Yeah. And I thought, good for you, James Cone. Yeah. How wonderfully said. And then the following Sunday is Trinity Sunday. You got to get the Spirit here before you can talk about the Trinity, as if the Spirit just now showed up. You know, that's kind of theological stupidity, which God called me to slay ignorance, and so as best I can,
Slay it.
I get to preach on Trinity Sunday
Oh, wonderful.
over at House of Hope.
Yep.
And so I will show the Presbyterians a more excellent way on the 31st. But these are remembering Sundays in the kind of Paschal rhythm of the church year.
Yeah.
Rise
and remember.
I'm sorry I'm late. I'm just wondering what we're sharing.
Moments of rising and remembering, Jen. We're like in that Memorial Day, George Floyd Square experience that we've all been moved and affected by in some way, shape, or form in the season of Pentecost, eves of Pentecost, and just transitions. There's graduations happening. There's obviously memorials happening, and there's new life out there on trees and budding and in nests below on the grounds of things. If you've walked anywhere, you'll hear a lot more geese and ducks telling you not to walk there.
Yep.
in their own imitable way. So that's what we're doing, Jen. So, and Reed, hello, welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm Reed Cunningham, and I was sitting here thinking of Lloyd George and that balance between sometimes the public and the private. And when that happened, it was during the pandemic, and my then 12-year-old son got very ill, and it was a crazy part in our life. I had lost my job right at the beginning of the pandemic and had gotten a job in New Hampshire, and my family was still in Rochester, New York. And I was commuting a 14-hour round trip every weekend. And during the week, my son got very ill, and he started running 104 fever and broke out in spots, and nothing would address it. And my wife took him to the local children's hospital. And it became apparent that they did not know what was going on. And it was just at the time they were starting to see children show up with this inflammatory syndrome, particularly in New York City and other places. And so he ended up being admitted. And, it was during the pandemic. So, people couldn't go to the hospital. But because he was so little, yet he was so young, my wife got to stay with them. But our high school daughter was left home alone. And I was in New Hampshire. And, it was this sort of horrible moment family-wise. And so there's these bigger events going on, but you're living, in your own personal events. And so the two of them were resonating, but not in always the best way. And, the good part was we were in New York, and New York was super conscious, and the New York public health system was doing tremendous communications between Rochester and New York City, where they had seen a number of these kids and were doing things. And he ended up getting really great treatment, and a week or so later got released. And here we are 6 years later, and he is a very healthy 17-year-old who is running track and getting times to get to college. And our third daughter, who was the high school student, graduated a week and a half ago with her, music performance and music education degrees from the Conservatory at Baldwin Wallace. And so, out of this what felt like the lowest moment, one has to be patient and keep working and keep believing. And here is my daughter, through this big transition and moving into all the good things that are coming. And my son will soon be applying to college. And, all of this comes, but you have to live in the moment and believe in hope for all those things that will come. and it's both at the personal and at the bigger level. So, thank you so much. Love you all. Thank you.
Rise and remember.
Rise and remember.
Frank.
Thank you
End of
so
story.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I've been, we all, suffering is universal. And sometimes when we're in the thick of it, we don't know why. And it seems so menial what I'm going to share, but there's power behind it. So bear with me. My car broke down last week, and it would have cost about $2,000 to fix it. It had 365,000 miles on it. So investing 2,000 is kind of silly. But this car, I bought it in 2017 when I was in real estate. And in 2018, I lost it. I lost everything. I lost my brokerage. I lost everything. My health declined. I couldn't do showings. So I was just left with this car, brand new car at the time. And I ended up doing Uber and Lyft as a rideshare driver. And so the first few years were great. I was like, oh, this is great. You make a career out of it. But as with anything we know in life, it changes. And COVID happened. That changed things. Influx of new drivers came on. So about 4 years ago, it got to the point where I was cursing my life every time I got into my car to go drive. There's no money to be made. It was very difficult, very frustrating, not to mention the people you got to deal with. And so I was cursing every time, cursing at you. But you know what? That car put me through so much in life, got me to the point where I'm at now, or helped me get there, anyways. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here today, because that destruction of what I was 9 years ago helped to create the person I am today and the journey that I'm on today. So as the car was being towed yesterday by CarMax, it was bittersweet, right? It got me through a lot, but it was kind of like the vehicle that got me to where I'm, literally and figuratively, the vehicle that got to where I'm at today. But anyways, thank you for letting me share.
That's great.
Rise,
And remember.
I was going to say, hello. Yeah, we have room. There's a spot right here, next between Molly and Dave. Come on and join us. When I thought about this topic, I'm heading to Chicago next week to be part of a big organizing effort around fighting fascism in the world, and being asked to be part of the, don't know if I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to Chicago to discover about these partnerships around the mainline Protestant path of a multiple affinity group kind of movement led by spiritual leaders. And what happened was visceral during George Floyd time was a lot of us showed up to be in solidarity with the community, to show up every day as we rebuilt much of the square, as we tended to people's homes, protected folks. It was just, we weren't having to go to work, so we had time during the pandemic to do that. And we were building relationships, and it felt like this is the most important thing to do. Yeah. And the young organizers who were the leads of that movement did not want to hear about our experience in the movement. And so the commitments in the evenings as we reflected together were, I think it's our time to follow, to live into relationship and followership of others. And what was born in a lot of movement builder people, like myself, was kind of a deep commitment to humility, in a way that very few of us had experienced that big call before. And that has continued on, that we show up when we're asked, not because we think we know what we're doing. And we listen to the people on the ground in any situation, any city that we've been called to, and respond to the needs of the folks who are experiencing whatever suffering is going on. And so that commitment to followership carried into our response during Metro Surge this last few months. Just really grateful for the lessons learned and the commitments that have followed, and leaning into relationship and moving at the speed of trust is what has been born and risen from that horrific event and in the days that followed the uprising. So, to followership and relationship.
Rise and remember.
And welcome.
Thank you. Marty.
Marty.
Yeah,
Welcome, Marty.
thank you.
Are you a new student here at United?
Hope to be in the fall.
Oh, nice.
nice.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've had
Excellent.
a lot of good reviews from lots of people I know who have attended here, so.
Excellent. Well, this is our little chapel experience for today. We'll come back again next month. Any other, you probably have time for one more if we
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, go ahead, Kate.
Yeah, I'm remembering it's been about 6 months since the passing of Alice Wong, who was like really big figure in the disability rights movement. She helped start the Disability Visibility Project that I think it was started about 10 years ago when NPR rejected her from going on the air.
Yep.
And then afterwards, NPR was like, you're actually starting something cool. Can we bring you? She was like, sure. I'll use this to my advantage.
Yep.
And it's partially because of her work that I'm really exploring how disability mutual aids can be of a big benefit to interreligious work because of how much struggle disabled folks have had to even survive, even with social system supports that don't meet all the needs, and the stigmatization of disability within religious spaces. And he's trying to use a crowbar as a leverage to open that door a little bit better.
Rise and remember. Well, there are so many things that cause us to remember. Dates in the calendar, moments of feeling, just sometimes it's just movement in the world, or a smell, or anything that will take us to a place of grief, of mourning, and I think each of those are invitations to rise and remember. And so let's hold that this summer as things grow in gardens and in our spirits and our souls, and may each of these losses be invitations to rise and remember. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.